back to our internal onboarding playbook series. In episode 1 of the series, we talked about making onboarding an experience and not just a checklist. In episode 2, we broke down the ideal onboarding journey from pre day 0 through the month 1 and so on. How do we want to take it forward when it comes to the onboarding series? But today's topic is something nearly every fast growing company is grappling through, which is remote onboarding at scale. When you're hiring dozens or hundreds of people across different time zones, how do you make that onboarding feel like human and not robotic? So that's something we're going to discuss in today's episode. Joining me again is Kunal, who has helped design onboarding programs from globally distributed teams. And we are digging into how remote onboarding can still build that connection, clarity, and momentum without turning into a lifeless Zoom assembly line. Okay, so Kunal, let's start with what has changed. In 2020, remote onboarding was just make it work. In fact, in 2020, we did not hear much about remote onboarding. But post COVID, slowly and steadily, when things went remote, things started changing. But in 2025, it's totally different. We have hybrid culture here. Along with that, tools have matured a lot, expectations have skyrocketed. What do you think has fundamentally shifted in how we should think about remote onboarding today?
Absolutely. In 2025, remote isn't new. Like it's the norm. But what's changed is expectation. It's no longer enough to send a checklist and a bunch of links and call it onboarding. People today expect attention behind every part of their experience, especially in remote first environment. That means we need to build rituals and not just assign tasks. For example, instead of a read our values PDF, one company I was working with created a weekly cultural story session where team members shared moments when they actually showed that particular value in their real life. It made abstract values feel real. It's also about creating visibility across teams, not just one of intro calls. I've seen companies use virtual showcases or team of the week spotlights, where new hires meet different departments through short engaging sessions. It gives them a context on like how the whole company moves and not just their immediate team. And as you mentioned, when it comes to asynchronous onboarding, it's not enough to dump videos in a folder. You need a design for choice and connection. One startup we worked with created a choose your onboarding adventure path, letting new hires explore at their own pace. But we like there are also live anchor events like founder AMAs or themed peer mixers. So the key is to maintain this balance of self-paced and shared experiences. It makes it feel both flexible and personal. So checklists are useful, but connection beats completion. Every moment should answer the new hire's unspoken question. And the mindset shift is this like remote onboarding isn't about replicating the office, it's about reimagining how connection, clarity can happen from anywhere in the world.
Okay, so just thinking through what everything you just shared, I especially love the idea of that choose your path. I have seen the same happening with the customers in AirMe too. Those who anchor onboarding around moments instead of modules see a higher day 30 retention amongst the new joinees. So amazingly shared all the examples, Kunal. Now let's just zoom into what makes this remote onboarding feel human. You don't have an office door or halfway run-in when you are virtually joining an onboarding session. So what can replace that?
Remote onboarding really challenges us to design for belonging and not just for briefing. Because you lose all the natural and informal cues that come with being in a physical space. As you mentioned, like there are no hallway chats or no office tour. So you have to create these points of connection intentionally. One thing that works really well is starting with a kickoff call where leaders share their why I joined stories. It humanizes the leadership team and helps the new hire to connect emotionally to the company's journey. Then there are small interactive experiences like a virtual scavenger hunt through Notion, Slack, or AirMeet. You can include company trivia, fun fact about teammates, or even a little find the founder's first job challenge. It makes exploring the company feel playful instead of it being passive. I have also seen buddy programs work best when launched through speed networking, just a few quick one-on-ones to help provide people meet like others outside their immediate team. And there we can also have casual rituals like coffee chats or team trivia. This helps to recreate that water cooler vibe in a distributed way. And sometimes even small gestures matter, like a welcome video from the team or a personalized email from a team member. And sometimes, like there was this team member who sent a book on their own to the new hire, which they would have mentioned in the interview. And that instantly created a sense of care and connection between them. When you look at these small things, they don't require a huge budget, but they do require intention. And when you prioritize these small moments, remote onboarding feels a lot more human and a lot more memorable.
Definitely running these virtual escape rooms, buddy AMAs, or even junior employee led panels, it changes the complete tone from that corporate to human to building that emotional connection on the month one of them joining the company, having that connection built with their colleagues, with their managers. So, really makes a huge difference into what they are looking forward to in the company. Now let's get a little tactical. You might be onboarding 50 people a month across 6 different time zones. So, how can you scale that personalization without burning out your team?
That's definitely a great question because personalization is powerful, but if it's all manual, it can burn out your team fast. What's worked well for us is creating a role-based onboarding tracks. So as of example, let's say, so the content for sales feel different from what an engineer or designer sees. That way it's targeted without being like one size fits all. We can also layer automated journeys using tools like LMS or HRIS platforms, but we still blend those with live welcome events. So it doesn't feel robotic. Another thing we have seen work very well is like using platforms like Airmeet to auto group people by their shared interests, like first time remote workers or dog parents, and offer optional sessions that create connection but without forcing it. So the main idea is give people ways to go deeper if they want to, and build enough structure around that so that they feel seen.
Very well explained. Now let's talk about platforms. What are the tech ingredients that actually support these high touch remote onboarding?
Beyond the usual Zoom and Slack, the right tools can really elevate remote onboarding, especially when you want it to feel high touch at scale. Airmate is great for running interactive, scalable onboarding events with features like breakout tables, polls, and backstage prep. Notion or Slide work well for self-knowledge hubs, so new hires can explore at their own speed. And when we are talking about tools, Donut in Slack is perfect for automating casual coffee pairings, great for building peer connections. And Loom is super useful for acing walkthroughs, whether it's like a welcome video from a manager or a quick demo for one of the internal tools. And to track early feedback, I would suggest using Typeforms or Culture app. They help you keep a pulse on the experience. So the gist is having a toolkit that supports both live and async movements. So onboarding feels personal even when it's remote.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, I've been a part of Airmate. I've used Donut and Slack, Loom, Typeforms. These are really amazing tools. But Notion or Slide that you just mentioned is something new, and I would definitely love to try these as well. But one thing that I would like to add is that the tool that whatever you choose needs to feel lightweight. People or employees are actually already very overwhelmed. I've seen teams use air meets backstage and breakout features to create the walk down the hall feeling virtually. So this doesn't create any additional efforts, or they do not feel overwhelmed using any new additional tools there. So final piece now, Kunal, for this episode is the matrix. What should onboarding teams track to know that their remote experience is actually working? What do they need to look at while they're planning their next session?
To know if your remote onboarding is actually working, here is what I recommend tracking. You should start with time to productivity, but you should make it role specific. For example, how long does it take a sales rep to run their first demo? Or for a designer, it would be how long do they take to ship their first asset. Then we should also track sentiment. You can do it through buddy check-ins, scores, or short pulse surveys during the first few weeks. One team I worked with sends a three-question check-in every Friday, and it helps catch issues early and even at a lick. They can resolve it at a faster rate. So don't just look at completion rates. You should also track participation when we talk about onboarding rituals. Whether all the things that you're creating are actually working or not. Like, are people joining the coffee chats or AMAs? These tells you whether they are engaging and not just attending. Slack engagement is another signal. Are they posting AMA questions, reacting to team wins, or asking for help on random channels? And here is one more. Ask every new hire what was the most human part of your onboarding. If someone says that welcome video from my manager or the coffee chat where I met my buddy from another country, that's a North Star. That's the stuff we're doubling down on.
I love the North Star example because if we're not creating these connections, we're just uploading documents in simple terms for our new joinees. Kunal, this was such a powerful conversation with so many examples that you shared. And in fact, to all our people who are hearing us, remote onboarding doesn't have to feel that robotic or rigid. With the right mindset, it can feel just as connected as in person. And thank you so much for joining this episode. Episode 4 is coming up next, where we'll dive into onboarding for hybrid teams and many more things. So, thank you for tuning in and see you in our next episode.